1945 South Pacific, 800 feet below. Captain William Ironhand Carter stood motionless in the control room, staring at the sealed envelope in his hands. The red wax bore the presidential seal. His crew watched in silence, their faces pale under the emergency lighting. They'd been submerged for 6 hours, running silent through enemy waters. But this envelope, this changed everything. "Sir," Lieutenant Morrison's voice cracked slightly. "What are the orders?" Carter broke the seal slowly, his hands, steady through countless depth charge attacks, calm through torpedo runs that had killed better captains, trembled as he unfolded the single sheet of paper. He read it once, then again, certain his eyes were deceiving him. His jaw tightened, the muscle in his cheek twitching the way it always did before bad news. "We stay down," he said quietly, his voice barely carrying over the hum of electrical systems. "For how long, sir?" Carter looked up, meeting the eyes of every man in the control room. His gaze held something they'd never seen before in their unshakable captain. Not fear, not uncertainty. Something worse, absolute certainty of the impossible. 30 years. The control room erupted like a disturbed hornet's nest. Voices overlapped, panicked and confused. Morrison grabbed the paper from Carter's hands, his eyes scanning the typed orders frantically, searching for the mistake, the misprint, the joke. But it was there, clear as daylight on official Navy letterhead. USS Providence, classified directive, Omega-7. Submerge coordinates, 15 degrees 172 W. Depth, 800 feet. Duration, 10,950 days. Surfaced, date, August 6, 1975. Maintain absolute radio silence. Deviation constitutes treason. No exceptions, no communication. "This is insane." Morrison slammed the paper on the navigation table, his voice rising. "Captain, we have oxygen for maybe 3 weeks if we're lucky. Food for 2 months maximum. The batteries will die in 6. How are we supposed to—" "I don't know, Lieutenant," Carter interrupted, his voice carrying the iron that had earned him his nickname. "But those are our orders. From the top, presidential seal. They wouldn't send us down here to die, wouldn't they?" Petty Officer Rodriguez spoke up from his station, his voice tight with fear. "Sir, with respect, this reads like a death sentence." Silence fell over the control room like a wet blanket, suffocating and heavy. 42 men trapped in a steel cylinder, 800 feet below the surface, with orders that defied every law of physics, biology, and common sense they knew. Carter watched their faces transform from confusion to terror to something worse. The slow, creeping realization that they might die down here, forgotten and alone. "Chief Kowalski," Carter's voice cut through the silence like a blade. "Run complete diagnostics on all life support systems. I want numbers. Oxygen recycling capacity, CO2 scrubber efficiency, electrical consumption, everything. Haze, monitor, all radio frequencies. If someone's listening, if there's any chatter, I want to know about it immediately. Morrison, gather the senior staff. We meet in the wardroom in 10 minutes. The crews scattered to their stations, moving with the mechanical precision of well-trained sailors. But Carter saw it in their eyes, in the set of their shoulders, the question no one dared voice aloud. Are we going to die, down here in the dark? Hour 12. The senior staff meeting lasted 4 brutal hours. Carter sat at the head of the cramped wardroom table, surrounded by his department heads in the dim yellow light. Chief Engineer Kowalski had brought charts, calculations, projections written in his precise engineer's hand. Every sheet of paper painted the same grim picture in numbers that didn't lie. "Sir, I've run the calculations 6 different ways," Kowalski said, spreading his papers across the table. His finger traced lines of figures. "It's mathematically impossible. Our CO2 scrubbers can handle the crew for maybe 30 days if we minimize all physical activity. And I mean everything. No drills, no exercise, minimal movement. The batteries powering our electrical systems, assuming we shut down everything non-essential, will last 6 months at absolute maximum. Food stores, 2 months if we ration down to starvation levels. Fresh water, same timeline." "What about the diesel engines?" Morrison asked, though his tone suggested he already knew the answer. "We're diesel-electric, Lieutenant. We'd need to surface to run the diesels and recharge. At this depth, surfacing means violating orders, And those orders used the word treason. Carter leaned back in his chair, studying the faces around the table. Each man a life, a story, a future that had just been put on indefinite hold. Lieutenant Morrison, 28 years old, engaged to a girl named Sarah in San Francisco, planning a wedding for next spring. Chief Kowalski, father of 3 daughters, 2 years from retirement and a pension. Sonar technician Hayes, barely 21, joined the Navy 6 months ago to see the world. Medical officer Dr. Chen, Harvard-educated, who'd volunteered for submarine duty against his family's wishes because he wanted adventure. "Gentlemen," Carter said slowly, choosing his words with care, "I've served in this Navy for 17 years. 3 wars, 12 combat patrols. I've followed orders that made no sense at the time. Orders that seemed suicidal. Orders that got good men killed. And every single time, eventually, there was a reason, a purpose we couldn't see in the moment but became clear later. With all due respect, sir," Dr. Chen spoke up, his academic precision evident even now. "This isn't a tactical decision or a strategic gambit. This is fundamental physics. Basic biology. We cannot survive 30 years underwater. We would need technology that simply doesn't exist. Perpetual motion machines. Matter creation. It's impossible." "Then maybe," Carter said quietly, "that technology does exist, and we're about to discover it." The room fell silent. Outside, they could hear the distant creaks and groans of the hull adjusting to pressure, the hum of motors, the whisper of recycled air through vents, the sounds of their metal coffin. Hour 24. Carter couldn't sleep. He lay in his narrow bunk, staring at the curved hull inches above his head, feeling the weight of 800 feet of Pacific Ocean pressing down. The weight was psychological as much as physical. He could feel it in his chest, in his thoughts, crushing slowly. A knock on his door, soft but insistent. "Come." Morrison entered, carrying 2 mugs of coffee that smelled burnt and bitter. Standard submarine brew. "Thought you might need this, sir. Can't imagine anyone sleeping tonight." Carter sat up, accepting the mug gratefully. The coffee was terrible, but it was hot and real. "Can't sleep either, Lieutenant." "No, sir. Been thinking about those orders. The specificity bothers me." Morrison sat on the small stool in the corner, the only other furniture in the captain's quarters. August 6th, 1975. Not approximately 30 years, or around 1975, that exact date, down to the day. "I noticed that too. Precision like that isn't accidental." Morrison leaned forward, voice dropping though they were alone. "Sir, what if this isn't about surviving at all? What if it's about waiting? Being in a specific place at a specific time for a specific reason we can't understand yet?" "Go on." "August 6th, 1945, that's today. The day we submerged. 30 years from today is August 6th, 1975. What if something happens on that date? Something important enough that they need us positioned here, at these exact coordinates, at that exact moment?" Carter sipped his coffee, considering the theory. It had merit, in a strange way. "That's asking us to have a lot of faith in a date, Lieutenant. It's asking us to have faith in orders that defy physics, sir. But here we are, following them anyway." A sudden shudder ran through the hull, different from the normal pressure adjustments. Both men froze. The lights flickered once, twice, then stabilized with an odd quality. Brighter, somehow. Cleaner. "Pressure shift?" Morrison asked, setting down his mug. "At this depth, we'd feel pressure changes more gradually." Carter stood, moving to the intercom panel. "Kowalski, report." What was that? Static crackled for a moment, too long a moment. Then the chief engineer's voice came through, tight with confusion and something else. Wonder? Fear? "Sir, you need to get down to engineering. Now. You're not going to believe this." "On my way." Carter grabbed his jacket. "Come on, Morrison." Hour 48. The engineering compartment was crowded with crew members, all staring at Kowalski's instruments with expressions ranging from disbelief to terror. The chief engineer stood beside his main diagnostic panel, pointing at readings that shouldn't exist. "Talk to me, Chief," Carter said, pushing through the crowd. Kowalski's hand shook slightly as he indicated the pressure gauges. "Sir, 12 hours ago, We were reading normal pressure differential. External pressure equivalent to 800 feet of seawater. That's about 350 pounds per square inch. Internal pressure maintained at 1 atmosphere through hull integrity. That differential is what keeps us from imploding. I know how submarines work, Chief. What changed? The external pressure reading is the same. Still 800 feet, but the internal pressure, he tapped the gauge. It's reading 1 atmosphere, but the hull's stress indicators show 0 differential. That's impossible. That's what I said, sir. But look, Kowalski pulled out a sheet of calculations. The hull should be under enormous stress from that pressure differential. But according to every sensor we have, it's not. It's like the ocean stopped pressing on us. We're reading atmospheric pressure inside, but there's no stress on the hull from external pressure. Morrison stared at the instruments. Are the sensors broken? I thought so too. Ran every diagnostic we have. 3 times. The sensors are fine. The readings are... He trailed off, searching for words. Impossible, Carter finished. You said that. What else? That's not all, sir. Kowalski's voice dropped. The batteries. They should be draining. We've got full electrical load. Lighting, air circulation, the scrubbers, sonar, everything. Based on consumption rates, we should have used about 10% of capacity in the last 2 days. And they're at 102%, sir. They're charging. But we're not running the diesels. There's no power source. The batteries are charging from nothing. Dr. Chen pushed forward. Chief, that violates basic thermodynamics. Energy can't be created from... I know what it violates, Doc. Kowalski's composure cracked slightly. I'm telling you what the instruments say. The air scrubbers, they're running at full capacity, pulling CO2, adding oxygen, but the power draw shows 0. Temperature control is maintaining 68 degrees Fahrenheit throughout the boat with no energy input I can measure. It's like the boat is running on nothing, Carter said quietly. The Providence is running on nothing. Silence fell over the engineering space. 42 men processing the impossible. Their submarine, their steel coffin, had stopped following the laws of physics. Sir, Hayes called from the sonar station in the corner. I'm picking up something weird on the passive arrays. Carter moved to the sonar station. What kind of weird? Hayes adjusted his headphones, fine-tuning the signal. It's not biologics, not mechanical. It's almost like a hum. Very low frequency. It started about the same time the pressure normalized. Let me hear. Carter put on the headphones. Through the usual ambient ocean noise, the clicks and whistles of marine life, the distant rumble of thermal currents, he heard it. A low, steady vibration that seemed to resonate through the water itself. Not quite sound, more like a feeling translated into audio. What is that? Morrison asked. I don't know. But it started when everything else changed. Carter removed the headphones. All right, everyone listen up. Here's what we know. Something happened to this boat. We're still at depth. We're still operational. But the normal rules don't seem to apply anymore. Chief, I want continuous monitoring of all systems. Any change, any anomaly. You report directly to me. Hayes, keep listening to that signal. Log any variations. Dr. Chen, I want daily medical checks on the entire crew. If this is affecting the boat, it might be affecting us too. Yes, sir, came the chorus of responses. And one more thing, Carter added. We tell no one outside this room about the impossibility of what's happening. The crew is scared enough. We maintain normalcy, routine, discipline. That's what will keep us sane down here. Understood? Understood, sir. As the crowd dispersed, Morrison lingered beside Carter. Sir, what do you think is happening to us? Carter watched his crew return to their stations, moving through a boat that had stopped making sense. I think someone or something wants us to survive 30 years underwater, Lieutenant. And whatever's doing this has technology we can't comprehend. Now we just have to figure out why. Week 3. Routine became Carter's weapon against chaos. He insisted on maintaining normal watch rotations, regular drills, scheduled meals. If the Providence was becoming something beyond understanding, her crew would remain disciplined sailors, but the anomalies multiplied. Kowalski conducted 3 separate inventories of the food stores, convinced he was losing his mind. They consumed meals, logged every can, every portion, every calorie. By his calculations, they should have depleted 10% of their supplies. But every morning, the stores were full, exactly as they'd been on day one. "Captain, it's like the boat is resetting," Kowalski reported during their daily meeting. "Every 24 hours, everything goes back to baseline. Food, water, even the spare parts inventory. I pulled a gasket yesterday for a repair, logged it. This morning, the gasket is back in the bin, but the repair I made is still in place." "But we don't reset," Morrison observed, his voice thoughtful. "We age. We remember. We're accumulating time even if the boat isn't." Carter stood at the wardroom table, studying Kowalski's meticulously kept logs. The chief engineer was right. The pattern was clear. "Any theories, Chief?" "None that makes sense, sir. It's like the Providence exists in some kind of loop. But we're passengers, not part of the loop. We experience linear time while the boat experiences something else." "Could it be automated resupply?" Dr. Chen suggested. "Some kind of advanced technology restocking us." "From where, Doc? We're 800 feet down. No hatch has been opened. No torpedoes fired. Nothing in, nothing out." The mystery deepened 3 days later when Petty Officer Rodriguez reported to medical with a deep gash on his forearm. He'd caught it on a sharp edge during maintenance, a clean cut, 2 inches long, deep enough to need stitches. Dr. Chen cleaned the wound, noting the injury in his log. "You're lucky this isn't worse. Keep it clean. Change the dressing twice daily. Come to see me if there's any sign of infection." Rodriguez nodded, accepting the bandage. "Yes, sir." 3 hours later, Rodriguez returned to medical, his face pale. "Doc, you need to see this." He removed the bandage. The cut was gone. Not healed, gone. The skin was perfect, unmarked, as smooth as if the injury had never occurred. Dr. Chen examined the arm with shaking hands. No scar, no redness, no sign of trauma. He checked his log. The entry was still there, his handwriting documenting a 2-inch laceration that no longer existed. "This isn't accelerated healing," Chen said, more to himself than Rodriguez. "This is temporal reversal, like time ran backwards for your injury while the rest of you moved forward." Word spread through the boat like wildfire despite Carter's attempts at containment. Within hours, every crew member was examining themselves for signs of the impossible, and they found them. Carter ordered everyone to medical for comprehensive examination. What Dr. Chen discovered was both disturbing and impossible in equal measure. Every crew member showed signs of age regression, not dramatic, just subtle shifts. Gray hairs less prevalent than a week ago. Fine lines around eyes slightly faded. A scar from childhood barely visible now. "Captain, I've documented everything," Chen reported, his scientific training struggling against inexplicable data. "Everyone is younger, not by much, maybe 3 weeks, possibly a month. But the trend is clear and consistent across all 42 crew members. At this rate," Kowalski calculated on his ever-present notepad, "by 1975, we'll be biologically younger than when we submerged. Or," Morrison countered, "we'll be the exact same age, frozen at this moment, August 6, 1945, forever." Carter stood at the front of the room, facing his senior staff. Behind him, through the bulkhead, he could hear the normal sounds of submarine life, men talking, equipment humming, the eternal creaks of a pressure hull, normal sounds in an abnormal situation. "Gentlemen, here's what we're facing. This boat has stopped following natural law. We're consuming resources that replenish themselves. We're aging backwards. We're suspended at a depth that should crush us but doesn't. And we have 29 years and 11 months left of this." "Sir," Hayes spoke up from the back, "what if we're not really here anymore? What if we died in a depth charge attack and this is, I don't know, purgatory? Hell? Then it's the most boring hell ever devised," Morrison said. But his attempt at humor fell flat. Carter shook his head. "We're not dead. Dead men don't get hungry, don't feel tired, don't question their existence. We're alive. Just somewhere else, someone else." "What do we do, sir?" Chen asked. "We follow orders. We wait, and we document everything. Because when we surface in 1975, someone is going to want answers, and we're going to have them.